Team live from 6, then Joss Stone's in the studio with Lorraine from 9. And celebrating 30 years in music, Leanne Rhymes is on this morning from 10 and keeping us company at lunchtime. It's the Loose Women from 12:30. Now the latest from ITV News Anglia with Becky, Jago and David Whiteley.
Hello, good evening and welcome to ITV News Anglia.
Coming up on this evening's programme.
A community's fight to save their local woods from development amid plans to build on the area.
I came to these woods as a kid and over the last 3 years especially, I've been out here so much and know the value of it to the people of Kettering. If warehouses are built on this area, I'll be absolutely heartbroken.
Also tonight, Nadine is back in the headlines as her new book claims to lift the lid on secret plots to oust Tory leaders.
Saving our important buildings, how this 18th century arms depot is being preserved for posterity.
And vivid memories of a joyful moment in history. Eileen reflects on the nights she went to London to celebrate VE Day.
Arrived home in the early hours of the morning and we got such a telling off from our parents through going off up to London.
Hello from Becky and me and welcome to the programme.
First tonight, the campaigners fighting to stop warehouses being built at a popular woodland in Northamptonshire.
The owners, Buccleuch Property, are appealing after the council failed to make a decision about their planning application.
However, members of the Save Weekly Hall Wood group argue it is a valuable space for wildlife and the well-being of those who use it. Stuart Leiths reports.
These campaigners have been fighting against warehouses being built here at Weekly Hall Wood on the north side of Kettering ever since the plans were submitted in 2020, and they'll be represented at a planning inquiry later this month. Buccleuch Property, which owns the land, has appealed against Northamptonshire Council's failure to make a decision about the application.
First of all, we feel that Kettering has already got probably enough or too many warehouses. But if you're going to build warehouses, there are much less valuable areas that you could build warehouses on. If you built it on farmland, then there isn't the same rich diversity of wildlife.
Des Dell is a Green Party councillor for Kettering.
I've lived in Kettering all my life. I came to these woods as a kid and over the last 3 years especially, I've been out here so much and know the value of it to the people of Kettering. If warehouses are built on this area, I'll be absolutely heartbroken.
The Duke of Buccleuch is the owner of the nearby Boughton House country estate, and he's on the board of the Buccleuch Group. In a statement, Buccleuch Property has said it has responded to community concerns by changing the plan to retain an area of woodland. It also added, the site is allocated for development as a strategic employment site under the North Northamptonshire Joint Core Strategy and will be a key contributor to job creation in the local area in the short, medium and long term. As part of the application, Buccleuch has proposed a number of mitigation measures in relation to the biodiversity impact, which involves both on-site and a substantial package of off-site mitigation measures within the wider estate. But these residents are still concerned about the impact it could have.
It's my favourite run route. I run through here all the way out to Geddington. It's beautiful. There's fungi, there's flowers, there's wildlife, blackberries. You know, it's a lovely place to come and it's just on the doorstep of Kettering.
I suffer with bipolar and the wilderness and nature has been a very important factor for my recovery from mental health. I go into the woods to create space to get away from the busy lifestyle that society brings.
Until they know the outcome of the inquiry, which begins at the end of November, locals are making the most of the chance to enjoy this open space at Weekly Hall Wood. Stuart Leiths, ITV News, Kettering.
Some more of your day's news now, and a special spray which reverses the effects of a drug overdose has been used successfully across parts of Cambridgeshire and is to be rolled out further. 11 people have been treated with naloxone across Peterborough, Fenland and Cambridge over the last 2 years. Now it'll also be used in Huntingdon.
Burglars have returned to the scene of their crime in Northamptonshire to give back a stolen funeral urn. The distinctive wooden container carrying a woman's ashes was taken from a property in Wycombe during a break-in last month. Following an appeal by the victim, the ashes have now been returned. Well, police say other items are still missing and they're searching for 2 people with a white van.
East Midlands services in Northamptonshire have returned to normal following repairs to a damaged embankment at Braybrook. Passengers travelling between Kettering, Market Harbour and Leicester on the Midland Main Line faced delays and cancellations because of the emergency work. Engineers have strengthened the ground underneath the tracks and will continue to monitor the area.
Right, next tonight, and a new book by Nadine Dorries claims Boris Johnson was ousted as Prime Minister by a political plot.
The former Mid-Bedfordshire MP says the ex-Prime Minister didn't attend any parties during lockdown and instead was forced from Downing Street not because of his own behaviour but by unelected forces in the Conservative Party.
Ms Dorries is already a best-selling author of fiction but says she wanted to write this book to set out the facts about Boris Johnson's downfall. Well, our political correspondent Emma Hutchinson reports now.
Goodbyes, and we'll see you across the bridge in just a couple of minutes. Have a good
Nadine Dorries' political career has always been a page-turner. A stint in the jungle and in the cabinet, and then this year a drawn-out resignation as Mid-Bedfordshire MP. The next chapter, a new book called The Plot, about what she describes as the political assassination of her closest ally, Boris Johnson.
When I started out writing this book a year ago, I thought I was writing about some of the untoward things and some of the machinations behind the scenes with Boris Johnson. You know, Nick, there was no gold wallpaper. It doesn't exist. It was never quoted for. Does such a thing even exist? Boris Johnson never attended a single party.
Rather than gold wallpaper, the book refers to Goldfinger and other Bond baddies, who she blames for Boris Johnson's downfall, describing an unnamed Conservative fixer as Dr. No, saying this person has controlled the top of the Tories for years. He's paid by central office, has a pass to number 10, and some say Rishi Sunak doesn't move without first seeking his advice. And yet people can spend years working in number 10 and never hear his name mentioned. The book also includes an interview with the former Prime Minister, hinting at a comeback. I'm frustrated, I'm seething, I'm a caged beast, I'm a coiled mamba. We're drifting, we're losing the plot. Nadine Dorries is already a successful author, selling millions of copies of her long-running fictional sagas. The Plot is her first factual book, but many at Westminster say it's no different to her previous writing, hoping, though, it might not prove quite as popular with readers.
Right, well, let's chat with Emma now. Good evening, Emma. Fact or fiction? What's the view at Westminster tonight?
Well, I think there are very many people here at Westminster, including senior cabinet ministers, who describe this as more fictional than fact. And if you think back to July 2022, when Boris Johnson resigned as Prime Minister, his resignation came after the resignation of more than 60 fellow members of government, 60 of his fellow MPs, many ministers from our region who stood down from their jobs, saying they simply couldn't work with him because of his behaviour and because of the way he tolerated other people's behaviour. We heard Nadine Dorries there talking about Boris Johnson not attending any parties. We know from seeing those pictures ourselves that the former Prime Minister did go to parties, gatherings during lockdown at Downing Street. We know he was fined by the police for attending one to mark his own birthday. So I think there won't be many people here who agree with Nadine Dorries when she says the former Prime Minister was forced out by dark, sinister forces rather than by his own behaviour.
So, Emma, you don't think it'll be on the Prime Minister's reading list?
No, I don't think Rishi Sunak will be either buying or reading this book. He is heavily criticised in the book. Nadine Dorries, we know, is not a fan of Rishi Sunak. We saw what she said about him in her resignation letter when she stood down as MP for Mid-Bedfordshire. Now, one MP from our region said to me, one Conservative MP said to me, nobody cares about this book, no one will be reading it. So Nadine Dorries has in the past made waves here at Westminster. I don't think this book will quite do the same.
OK, Emma, thank you ever so much.
Well, next tonight, a Napoleonic-era arms depot in Northamptonshire is on its way to being fighting fit once again after work has been done to restore it.
Yes, it was vital to supply weapons, ammunition and equipment to the British Army from Napoleonic times through to 2 world wars, but it fell into disrepair.
Well, now it's off the Heritage at Risk list of places in our region. Our reporter Nadine Dorries went to find out why.
Well, I'm taking you back through time today, a few hundred years ago actually, to the Royal Military Depot here at Woodland in Northamptonshire. It used to supply weapons and ammunitions, but now part of it is off the Heritage at Risk register, and we went there earlier to see how it's been transformed. King George III vowed to take refuge here had Napoleon's threatened invasion of Britain had taken place. And that's why this purpose-built arms depot was made.
People would have been buzzing. You would have seen artillery pieces in here, people bringing in munitions. You know, there might be a call going up. Someone's on their way. You know, we need to get spick and span. It would have been a hive of activity.
It was later used as a base for the British Army throughout both World Wars until the 1960s.
And we're at the top of the northeast bastion, but there are houses surrounding us. I'm sure it looked very different in the 18th century, right?
Yeah, this was part of a massive complex. Up there you had parade grounds, you had barracks, you had something called the Pavilion where King George was going to come if we'd been invaded. That's all gone. But from up here you can see why this bastion was built. This was a defended complex and it's got a brilliant view over the Northamptonshire countryside here. You can see things coming from miles up and down the road. Any enemies coming, you can get them, you can shoot them from here.
The Northeast Bastion is among 4 places in the region now off the Heritage at Risk register after restoration works, including Bourne Mill in Cambridgeshire, as early as the 1500s, one of the oldest windmills in England, rescued from collapse. And the depot has a more modern look.
The site was just decaying away, gradually disappearing from the landscape. We want this place to work for the future. We want its uniqueness, its characterful quality to mean something in the future.
And just like those soldiers searching for a tipple after a hard day's work, one of the depot's buildings has been adapted into a brewery.
A location such as this, a really amazing historic site, really kind of complements the brewery setups. I think we used to have a fire station in here once upon a time. It was the office for the fire station. For us, it's just a really great, quirky building, like I think, the tall ceilings, the light coming in, like the shape of the building, all lends itself to an interesting environment. And I think when people come in, they straight away see that and they enjoy that.
The original clothing store is next, with the Northwest Bastion hoping to mirror its sister site in the future. Now, you may have noticed in my report the Grand Union Canal ran right through the depot. It's still there today, but it's not in working order as it's been blocked. But it was very important to bring in ammunitions like gunpowder and guns from Birmingham and London. And in fact, if we look over here, this is the mechanism that would have raised the portcullis. 2 men, in fact, had to use that to make sure those weapons could come in and out from London and Birmingham. Now, if I pay our attention to something even heavier, these 3 massive weights. Now, they are connected to the clock and make sure the clock is in working order. They've been here since 1814, and in fact, a man comes once a week, goes right up to the tower, raises the weights to make sure that clock is in working, ticking order, and it's been marking time here for over 200 years at the depot.
Nadine Dorries there. It's
fascinating stuff there, isn't it?
Yeah, those places really need to be looked after, and it's wonderful that they are.
Brilliant, yeah. And the enthusiasm of Ben Robinson, he's always like that whenever I've seen him on telly before. It really gets the history brilliantly and conveys it so well. And as you say, important to preserve it all. Thanks for joining us. It is ITV News here in the Anglia region, still to come.
Banishing the blues and building camaraderie as another men's shed opens for business.
It's just a great way of getting out of the house, really. It's, it gets get away from a missus.
Plus, wartime memories from the teenager who was at the heart of the VE Day celebrations nearly 75 years ago.
And it's been a story of sunny spells and scattered showers across the region today. I'll be looking at the distribution of those showers and where they've been, plus I'll have the rest of the week and the weekend's forecast in 15 minutes.
But before that, Lucy Letby, the nurse convicted of being one of Britain's most prolific child murderers, lifted the lid on serious concerns over whistleblowing procedures in the NHS.
Now, an investigation by reporter Paul Brand and the ITV Tonight programme reveals that an estimated 11,000 deaths occur each year due to failings in patient safety. But what happens to doctors and other staff when they try to speak up? Well, Nick Smith has more.
Lucy Letby was told today she'll never be released from prison.
Justice has been served, and a nurse who should have been caring for our babies has been found guilty of harming them.
The actions of Lucy Letby at the Countess of Chester Hospital will go down as some of the nation's most prolific crimes. But the case also raised questions over what happens when NHS staff try to speak out. Deliberate harm in hospitals is rare, but tens of thousands of accidental deaths occur due to things like incompetence or long delays in treatment. One cancer specialist spoke to us anonymously, claiming the current waiting list is costing lives.
What would happen if you phoned a manager every single time you thought there'd been an unacceptable delay in someone's care?
I think managers would be overwhelmed. I think we're under 63% is what we're hitting. So that means in real terms that what we see on the ground is 1 in 4 people not getting their cancer treatment in time. It gets to a point where it just becomes the normal, and that's the culture that's breeding in the NHS at the moment, is managers are accepting it, but it means people further up the chain, they don't care. If you're not telling them, then it means everything's fine.
I really worry that the PR for the NHS is one of wanting to say it's all good news. This is the worst cancer crisis of my lifetime. We know that for every 4 weeks delay in diagnosis and treatment, there can be up to a 10% increase in death rate.
NHS England told us progress is being made to improve the 62-day treatment target and reduce backlogs. They're seeing record numbers of patients and diagnosing a higher proportion at an earlier stage than ever before. And they've launched an initiative called Freedom to Speak Up to listen to concerns. Dr. Ravi Jayaram was a colleague of Lucy Letby's who helped expose her crimes, highlighting the importance of taking whistleblowers seriously.
This is why I would say to anyone in the NHS who's got concerns about patient safety, get the evidence, keep a paper trail, write everything down, make sure you can back up what you're saying, and just don't give up.
Advice which may help save lives if such concerns are properly addressed. Nick Smith, ITV News.
And you can watch the programme in full, ITV Tonight, after Lucy Letby. Why is there silence on the wards? On ITV1 this evening at 8:30.
Now, you may well have heard of the Men's Shed movement, which was started as a way of getting men together to connect, create and, well, repair things for the local community.
There are now more than 600 men's sheds in the UK, with one of the newest opening up in West Suffolk. Russell Hookey investigates.
Unashamedly male-orientated, the Stour Valley Men's Shed aims to provide a space not only to learn new skills, but make new friends as well.
It's a good way to get gentlemen of a certain age to talk to each other, to discuss their health, their experiences, their careers, and to discuss and learn different skills.
Originally an Australian idea, there are now men's sheds all over the world. The men who go along often fix things for the local community, giving them a sense of satisfaction at the same time.
What's important about this project for me is that it gives something for people who would struggle to sit down and talk face to face, to be able to come into a space, work with others and talk shoulder to shoulder.
And at the official launch of this latest shed, there was no shortage of men and their partners enthusiastic about the project.
I wanted to get involved with something to do after retiring, and this is a good idea. It's locally and don't live far away.
It gets him out, gets out of the flat, and it's somebody else to talk to, not with just me 24/7.
Oh, it's just a great way of getting out of the house, really. It's, you know, it gets get away from a missus. It's great camaraderie here, great group of people.
Banishing loneliness and isolation, building camaraderie, and using power tools. The Men's Shed appeals on many levels. Russell Hookey, ITV News, Long Melford in Suffolk.
It feels odd to have a barbecue this time of year, but why not?
Why not?
Fantastic. They are
Love
really
everything
good.
about it, apart from the power tools, you know, but I'll leave that to them.
You like the cups of tea?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right, the ITV Evening News is at 6:30. Here are the headlines with Mary.
Coming up in the programme, calls for the Home Secretary to be sacked as she's accused of inflaming tensions. Number 10 distanced themselves from Suella Braverman's claims of police bias as the Met resists calls to ban a pro-Palestinian march on Armistice Day. Kicked out of home, we have a special report into the shocking rise in the number of no-fault evictions. And we're back on the red carpet as the actors' strike appears to be coming to an end. Will you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Now, we are just a couple of days away now from Armistice Day, and of course Remembrance Day is this Sunday, a time to reflect and honour those who gave their lives during the First and Second World Wars, and of course not forgetting all conflicts fought as well.
Well, before we get to the weather tonight, we wanted to bring you the story of Eileen Moules. Eileen is 94 and lives at a retirement village in Bedfordshire. She witnessed one of Britain's most historic days when she joined the crowds at Victory in Europe Day, or VE Day, on the 8th of May, 1945.
And here she is as a teenager. At the time, Eileen was working in the government's drawing office as a draftswoman. She trained 1 day a week at the end of the war when the firm was allowed, get this, to permit girls to attend technical college.
Well, on VE Day, she knocked off work to be part of the celebrations and headed to Buckingham Palace with her sister, where they waited to see Winston Churchill and the King and Queen.
Well, Eileen was about to witness a history book moment, an image that most of us recognise from black and white photos, of course. Well, now Elderswell Retirement Village in Bedfordshire. Eileen still remembers that day vividly.
Everybody was singing and dancing all the way, and as we was getting nearer to Buckingham Palace, I shall never forget trampling on geraniums in the sidewalks, you know, because it was just all packed with people. And we got up as far as the Buckingham Palace railings, and we was waiting for Winston Churchill to come out on the balcony, which he did with the King and the Queen and the princesses.
What a remarkable day for her to be there. Well, when she got home with her sister, her parents, however, weren't too happy that they had gone to London.
Arrived home in the early hours of the morning, and we got such a telling off from our parents through going off up to London because they weren't at home when we picked up our tea. And because we'd gone up there, you know, but we didn't care. We'd had a good time. It was very interesting.
I love that. Eileen didn't care. They had a good time. Absolutely.
Well, amazing that she went, of course.
Good for them for going.
Yeah.
And Eileen, thank you for sharing that memory with us as we approach Remembrance Sunday this weekend.
All right, time for the weather details now. Here's Chris with the forecast.
So yes, the story across much of the region through today has been an unsettled one. We've seen that standard story of sunny spells and scattered showers, and the clouds were giving us the answers to what the day was likely to be. We can see the depth in the cloud here. This is one of those cumulus, touching towards cumulonimbus cloud as we work through the afternoon. And that's where we've seen the heaviest showers, and of course has given us a large amount of water in a short space of time. But as the showers tended to fade as they worked their way in from the west, which you can see on this earlier satellite and radar picture, that as they've crept eastwards, the ground temperature through today and therefore the air temperature just hasn't been enough to build the showers and keep them going eastwards. So for most of us through much of today, there has been more in the way of some sunshine, and we have stayed largely dry. Of course, the odd heavy shower has come through here and there too. But unlike yesterday, where we had soggy doggy walks, it meant that Stanley, the gorgeous little pup here, managed to get out on a nice dry dog walk. But what does the rest of the week have in store? Should we look at the full details? Here you go.
Greater Anglia sponsors ITV Anglia Weather.
So the story across much of the region today, like I've said, is one of sunshine and scattered showers. Although saying that, there were some big gaps between those showers into this afternoon, which meant for most of us, at least before the sunset, we did see, of course, some sunshine around. Temperatures, though, have only come in between 10 and 11 degrees Celsius, and particularly if you've been exposed to the breeze, it has felt rather chilly. And as we go into this evening, well, we still have some clear skies around. That will allow temperatures to fall, but the clouds just starting to roll in by dawn tomorrow morning, giving another rise to some showers, and for most of us, temperatures therefore will hover around 5 or 6 degrees. It means that we start Friday, the end of the working week, with some patchy cloud. Notice we've got this little system here just gliding across the southern half of the region. That will bring some outbreaks of rain for the likes of South Bedfordshire, towards Luton and Hertfordshire too. But through the afternoon, the winds, they swing round more to a northwesterly, and we'll start to see, yes, the showers disappearing and more sunshine as we end the day. Temperatures, though, a little disappointing for the time of year, just around 8 or 9 degrees Celsius, which is below average, like I said. As we look towards Saturday, the first day of the weekend, after a cold and possibly frosty and foggy start in a few areas, there will be more sunshine as we go through the day. Possibly some mist lingering for a time, but still a chilly start to the weekend. Once again, temperatures struggling to get above 8 or 9 degrees Celsius by day. And then through Sunday, another foggy start with clear skies as we start first thing on Sunday morning. That will allow the fog to linger through the morning and some frost to develop in places. But you'll notice once again more cloud and some further outbreaks of rain, although I am hopeful that this will arrive late afternoon towards sunset. So for most of the weekend, at least, the good news is that it will be a dry one with some sunshine. Near enough clear blue skies as we go through much of Saturday. And then don't forget, with clear skies overnight, that does bring the return of overnight frost. See you later. Bye-bye.
Greater Anglia sponsors ITV Anglia Weather.
Did that say -1?
It did. We've reached that point. Everyone's talking about Christmas, overnight frost.
Did you just say Christmas? You just said Christmas. I'm so sorry.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Rimmel's all-new Lasting Finish 35 Hour. Our most hydrating long-wear foundation with skin-loving hyaluronic acid and niacinamide. Unbeatable hydration that lasts and lasts. New Lasting Finish 35 Hour foundation from Rimmel London. All Rimmel makeup, now 3 for 2 at Super.